certainly true. It's been a running joke with everybody who has been involved with Sunday mornings, or really anything, that isn't it good that this month is imperfection? I think that Shirley said that you didn't mean to do this, right, Shirley? That the collage, which is so beautiful and incorporates everyone's words, was done upside down accidentally. And so the good thing about that is this month, as perhaps every month, we can say, oh, well, imperfection. Great. Last week, as we began our study of imperfection, we talked about how much more interesting it is when people are imperfect, when our heroes are imperfect, and how luckily we all get a lot of practice in seeing and knowing and being imperfect people. We talked about that last week, all in the context of how much I am like Robert Griffin III, the quarterback of the Washington football team, which, trust me, made perfect sense in that context. Today, I want to explore what imperfection means in a community. Not just individual imperfection, but the imperfection of a community writ large, a community like Wes. What does it mean to be part of a congregation where not only are we made up of imperfect people, of course, but this thing that we create together is itself inherently imperfect too? And does it have to be? One of the things I enjoy most about my job is getting to meet newcomers, people who are just coming to Wes, from all kinds of different backgrounds, perhaps religious backgrounds, perhaps secular backgrounds, that have been looking for something, perhaps for a while. And I love to hear what it is that they feel when they find Wes, if they feel that it's just the right fit, or something really special they were hoping they would be able to discover. But the thing that makes me most nervous when I hear it from a newcomer is, this place is perfect. Because I just know, it might be a few weeks, it might be a few months, but I promise that perfection is too high a standard for this community or any other. That at some point, you will be disappointed in it. Someone will behave badly, the new paint color will grate on your nerves. I will give a platform that is totally the opposite of what you needed to hear that day. You'll hate the music, obviously not if our chorus is singing. The leadership will make a decision you really don't like. It will be crowded when you get here, and you won't see anyone that you recognize. I make it sound really great, don't I? That's not actually how I start the newcomer conversations. In a matter of weeks, you'll just hate this place. There was actually a brochure created by the Unitarian Universalist Association that they mailed out samples to all of the congregations. That was essentially created for exactly this purpose. It was created to give to new members, so I think they hoped that you waited until they joined. And then you give them this brochure, which was actually really well written and well done, and it was about how when we come into a new community, we imagine that it will be the perfect answer to our, not prayers, but something, our meditations, our dreams, and it's not, right? And people are people, and communities are messy. And the whole brochure, it's a trifold, all text, because I don't know what pictures you would use for people feeling really imperfect. It's all text, and it's all about how communities are tricky. It was an attempt, I think, to help new members to take the community off a pedestal before it was knocked off for them. I didn't end up deciding to buy that brochure the cover is stained glass, which didn't feel like it would really go over well here. It might be a little too imperfect an image for us. But I actually liked the idea of trying to have that conversation with people. You know what I mean? Because I think it's understandable in the beginning when you find a new community to think that it might be perfect. Some of us have left traditions that no longer speak to us, and that can be a painful experience to leave, to let go of what was perhaps at one time meaningful in our lives. And others of us have been searching maybe our entire lives for something like this, not really thinking that it existed. I hear that a lot from folks, you know. I wanted something like a church, but not really a church, but I didn't think that there was that thing, and then here you are. And it's so exciting, that moment, that joy of discovery, the recognition of oneself in a community. Someone said to me last night when they first came in, she thought, oh, these are my people. And that's a joyful and wonderful thing to experience. And then at some point, the first disappointing thing will happen. And just the way it's the people that we love most deeply who have the most power to hurt us and upset us, you know, so too a community that we care about and love and invest ourselves and our time in, so too there our preferences, our hopes, the disappointments feel stronger. I will never forget the great vegetarian community dinner debacle. What was it? It was like 3 years ago, 2012. The community dinner team decided to make community dinner, which is our big yearly catered dinner, vegetarian. And we just all thought that was, everybody in the room, that was a great idea. Oh, that's perfect. Oh, vegetarian. Oh, everybody's going vegetarian now, you know, and so we could have quinoa. And, you know, it was going to be a little cheaper, and that was okay too. And so it didn't go over well, the vegetarian community dinner. Some people liked it, I'm sure, but some people really had a hard time with it. And as I tried to process why people were feeling so emotional about the vegetarian community dinner debacle of 2012, as it will forever. We could have like a plaque or something about it. What I realized was, you know, when a community feels like your home, you want your favorite, most nourishing things to be served there. You want the things that feed you to be what is offered. And so for some people, that's quinoa. And for some people, it's vegetarian. We always have vegetarian options. I want to make sure, you know, lest I get a flurry of emails about vegetarian options at community dinner, that's important to us. But for folks, it felt important that what we served spoke to the entirety of the community, spoke to them, the whole congregation. I wonder if you have noticed how I keep alternating between congregation and then immediately afterward community. It's not a rhetorical device. As you might know, there is a plethora of opinions at Wes about the best way to refer to Wes, the best language. I actually particularly like, someone calls it their unchurch. I thought that was kind of cute. That's my unchurch. We had statement of purpose meetings a couple of years ago. I bet many of you were there, where we talked about a statement of purpose that we were in the middle of creating. And the conversation, the rich, deep conversation about the word community and the word congregation really blew me away. There were those for whom the word congregation felt foreign, not describing their experience here, and community felt connecting, that it spoke deeply. And those are legitimate and true feelings, right? And then there were folks that said, no, community doesn't do it at all. Congregation is the best way to describe this place. It's the only word that really speaks to what Wes means to me. And that's a legitimate and true feeling, right? I think in the end, our statement of purpose had both words incorporated into it one way or the other. but you begin to see the challenge. How do we agree on the perfect word for this place? A just, perfect word. In a community as diverse as West, with people from many backgrounds, many preferences, there are plenty of ways for us to be imperfect together. And that is in addition to the big, sad things that happen in a community, to conflicts and loss. We have had and continue to have to navigate those as well. We always will, because that's part of being in community together too. I think there's an important key there. Acknowledging, knowing that we'll always have to navigate these imperfections. It's what the brochure was trying to get at, this brochure that warned new members about what they were coming into. That imperfections, differences of opinion, conflicts, and challenge, they're not aberrations any more than a person's imperfections are aberrations. Any more than we're usually perfect all the time, and then occasionally an imperfection just kind of slips in. No person is perfect, as we have ample opportunity to learn and remember on a daily basis, at least I do, and no community is either. And so some of what we're called to do in a community, I think, is to forgive it, to forgive West for not being perfect. And ultimately to appreciate those imperfections the same way we might appreciate them in a person we love. Now, a note on forgiveness. It's hard to do. There's so much written on the practice of forgiveness by people far wiser than I. The challenge of asking for forgiveness, the importance of doing so. Many religious communities focus on that piece, what it means to acknowledge fault and ask for forgiveness. But I think there's an important element too around our ability, our choice to forgive. That comes into play especially when we think about a whole community, what it means to be disappointed by the imperfections in our community, by each other within our community, and yet want to stay connected. Forgiveness for me isn't about saying everything is okay now. You know that old adage, forgive and forget? Is that even a thing? Do people do that? To be able to forgive and then completely forget as well? I don't think so. Laura is shaking her head no, and she's a therapist, so she would know. I think actually in some ways forgiveness is about really noticing the fullness of a situation. Noticing the imperfection there as deeply as you can, holding it and honoring it. It's about seeing even more than imperfection, it's about seeing brokenness and whether or not that brokenness can be repaired, choosing to change your interaction with it. About letting go, perhaps, of the hold the thing has on you. About acknowledging the reality of what was and deciding you don't want that reality to dictate your experience now. A friend and colleague of mine, Megan Foley, has written and spoken widely about forgiveness. Megan's father was in the Foreign Service, and while he was serving in Jordan, he was assassinated. She has thought a lot about her connection to her father's killers, what that means, about when forgiveness is called for and when it's not. And she has something that I love. I love the way she puts it. There are some relationships, she wrote, that call for a deeper level of forgiving, a deeper commitment to letting the relationship take precedence over any offense. It's a beautiful way to put it. And then I think about the times when the relationship can't be fixed. There's been an article by President Jimmy Carter that's been making the rounds recently, but it's actually from 2009. I looked it up because I thought it had happened a little while ago. Jimmy Carter, as many of you know, is a man of great faith. His faith has been very important to him over his lifetime. And in 2009, he wrote this beautiful essay talking about what he called losing my religion, when he wrote